My name is Kldiashvili, and I'm the Executive Director of the Institute for Development of Freedom of Information. This is Georgia, Tbilisi-based non-governmental organization. As a profession, I'm historian. My background is contemporary history of Europe and America, but I'm focused on the Soviet studies, and I have a strong experience on working in the different archives, including archives in Georgia. And I have a personal role in opening former Soviet archives, including the former KGB and Communist Party archives. This is why I decided to speak about the archives in Georgia, the Soviet studies direction in Georgia, and what is done in these regards. I'm the founder, co-founder of the organization, and my colleague, who is the co-founder together with me, we are both historians. We started this organization with the support of the National Security Archive, US-based organization at George Washington University, and the major focus was to work on the Soviet studies and the Cold War history, but we also cover various topics including open governance, fighting corruption, access to information, because we see access to documents as one of the groundings to opening the archives as well. And if you do not have the regulations, proper regulation of the access to information, it is impossible to opening archives and having a proper access to archival documents as well. I want to speak about the archives, what are the major archives in Georgia, what are the important documents you can find there, and what are the regulations of working in the archives. I would like to start talking about the two major archives. This is the National Archives of Georgia and the chronological framework of these archives is 9th century till present times, and the number of type of documents are 10,295 archival funds, which is approximately 75 kilometers. And the second major archive is the archive of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Georgia. And the chronological framework is 1921, 1991. Number of and type of documents is 8,300 archival fund, which is approximately 5 kilometers in length. Other archival institutions include Georgian National Center of Manuscripts. It's also starting from 9th century till present. Department of department, and there are also departmental archives, including Archive of the Ministry of Defense, Archive of the Department of Command Courts, Archive of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And these documents include time frame from 1991 till present. There is an important archive also, the archival division of the Autonomous Republic of Adjara, starting from 1930s till present times, and the National Parliamentary Library of Georgia. It is from 17th century till present. And the different private archives, which are also important in terms of their collection of documents. There is also the Aphasian Virtual Archive, which is this is the autonomous republic in the Republic of Georgia, but it is currently occupied by Russia, and Georgia does not have the authority over this territory. The Abkhazian Virtual Archive is a web-based archive that includes information about Abkhazia in the form of photos, videos, books, newspapers, manuscripts, maps, etc. Before I start talking about the archival collections, I would like to speak about the organization I represent. We have started, as I have mentioned, we have started working on the Soviet history and the archives since early 2000, but as the organization, I'm talking as an individual, but as the organization, we started working on the Soviet studies and the Cold War history from 2009 when we established, and we started mainly focused on the Stalin period, including the Soviet repressions in Georgia, and we started opening the KGB archive, researching in this archive and finding lots of documents, including the personal criminal files, so-called NKVD documents, the Troika sessions, etc. At the same time, we have worked much in the former Communist Party archive. We have the personal role in saving this archive from destruction, and now it is one of the state of art archives in Georgia, and the visitors can search, work there, and it also publishes different collection of documents. At the same time, we have collected a number of documents about the Soviet history, and we are actively cooperating with the Georgian Society Memorial, which is the organization that supports the families and individuals who were repressed during the Soviet times. This organization also keeps archive of the repressed people. These are the personal files of these people, whom their memories, memoirs, etc. So we are supporting this organization with different resources. They have the office in our office, and we work together organizing different exhibitions, etc. So going back to the National Archives of Georgia, there are several sub-archives there, including the Central History Archives, which when documents are kept there, and the frames of these documents starts from the 9th century till 1921. Central Archive of the Contemporary History, which is the most important part in means of studying Soviet period. It starts from the 1921 when Georgia was occupied by the Soviet Russia, and these documents include the Soviet Socialist Republic Georgia times from till 1991, and the independence period of Georgia starting from 1991 till present. Central Archive of Audiovisual Documents, and there are almost 500,000 of photos, nearly 20,000 audio records, and nearly 35 films. And there is also the Kutaisi Central Archive, which is the second biggest city of Georgia in the Western Georgia, and its archive and the documents concerning the activities of organizations, institutions, and prominent figures on the territory of Western Georgia is kept in this archive. There is an important documents kept in the National Archives, including the documents of the and these documents are under UNESCO World Heritage List and are protected internationally. So I will not list all of them. You can see it in the presentation. There are also important documents such as the Act of Independence of Georgia, etc. There are, I will just mention several important funds preserved in the Central Historical Archive of Georgia. This is fund number 1 and number 12. This is the Chancellery of the Caucasus Viceroyalty and other related funds in this archive, and Georgia was after annexation of Georgian kingdom of Kartli and Kakheti. This is the eastern Georgia. It happened in 1801, and the Georgia was annexed by the Russian Empire, and so the jurisdiction of the Russian Empire expanded to what is now current Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and the North Caucasus. So these territories were, and the documents about these territories are kept in this archive as well. One of the important fund is fund number 1833, 1961. This is the fund of the First Democratic Republic of Georgia, which is an important part of the history of Georgia. Georgia was independent from 1918 till 1921, and these documents about this period is also kept in the National Archives of Georgia. Now I would like to speak about the documents concerning the Soviet times and which are kept at the National Archives, and the important documents are about the all different agencies, excluding the law enforcement agencies, and these documents are concerning the history of modern Georgia and the work of institutions of the Soviet period, etc. Well, the documents about the Sovietization of Georgia is important in this archive, including the documents of the various revolutionary committees, so-called the Revcoms, which was established in 1921, documents about the national uprising in Georgia in August 1924, and various other funds which give a bit of information about the different aspects of the life in the Soviet Georgia. I would like to now speak about the second important archive. This is the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Georgia, the so-called the Security Archive, and documents concerning the Georgian repressive state institutions during Soviet times, including Cheka, GPU, OGPU, and KVD, MVD, which were created in between the 1921-1990. And these are the documents mainly about the state security related issues, criminal files of the people who were repressed during the Soviet times, etc. And the second division is the so-called Party Archive, the archive of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic. So these archival funds give a bit of information about the whole Soviet period, because they unite both the repressive archive and the archive of the Communist Party of Georgia, where the most important documents about the Soviet period are kept there. So just to give a bit of information about the funds, the most important is the fund number 1. This is the normative acts, decrees and orders of the various institutions in the former NKVD archive. The fund number 6, which is the criminal cases of those who were repressed during the Soviet Union, and also the documents about, for instance, the uprising in 1924, or the March events, the demonstrations that happened in Tbilisi, are also kept in this archive. Also, the personal files of the later famous figures of Georgia, including the national hero of Georgia, Merab Kostava and Zviad Gamsakhurdia, the first president of the independent Georgia, are also kept in this archive. Fund number 13 is the so-called the Exile Files of different ethnic groups that were deported starting from 1941 to different parts of the Soviet Union, are also kept in this archive. It is important to mention different funds in the former Communist Party archive, including the special folders, which is the most important files that we are kept starting from 1921 till 1990, and it covers the various topics, including the bureau sessions of the Communist Party of Georgia and other materials related to various aspects of work of the party units. The fund number 8 is the Party History Institute Fund, where you can find the Bolshevik related documents. Fund number 13, which is very important fund because it unites documents related to the Transcaucasia Regional Committee of the Communist Party of Russia. It's from 1922 till 1937, and this fund is particularly important because it unites documents about Soviet Armenia and Azerbaijan as well. And the 14 is the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Georgia, and this is the largest fund and arguably the most valuable one, and it consists of the Presidium, Plenum, and Secretariat protocols of the Central Committee with the different stenographic accounts as well as the related documents to this. Now I'll switch to the legislative regulations on access to archives in Georgia. The major archival regulation is the law of Georgia on the National Archival Fund and the National Archives, and also the law on the personal data protection is also related to archives, because according to this law, archival documents containing personal data can be declassified in 75 years after the creation of the document or the 30 years after the death of the person. So it is an important regulation which is restricting access to the personal data of people about whom the document is. About the arrangement of documents in the Georgian archive, the cases are located in the archives of Georgia as follows. There is the font, inventory, and the file. The system is established in the Soviet Union, and according to which the documents of the archives of Georgia are described, and it did not provide a description of the individual documents, unfortunately. For this, the documents are thematically combined in files, and the general international standard archival description is not implemented in any of the archives. How to find the document. This is also important for the researcher. At the Ministry of Internal Archives, this is the former KGB archive, it is impossible to use the electronic catalog of the repressed person. The search engine gives links to the valuable archival documents about the particular person, and generally these documents are scanned and linked in the catalogs, which makes work easier and faster. The National Archives of Georgia and other archives, including the Manuscript Center, archives of Achara Autonomous Republic, etc., have not implemented the search engine, and research is being carried out using the printed finding aid books. The reading rooms, this is also important to know about. There is the reading hall of the National Archives, and it is located in the central district of Tbilisi. It provides service for Tbilisi Central Archives, this historical, contemporary film, photo, audio archives, and the Kutaisi Central Archive also has a reading room. The reading rooms are work on the certain time frame, and to be granted access substantiation, the researcher has to apply and request a document, and it is required to fill in the form, and the access to the reading room is granted in 5 working days after submitting the form. But the practice shows that it can also be granted earlier. At the Ministry of Internal Archives, if we want to work on the documents related to security archives during the Soviet times, it's also located in one of the central areas of Tbilisi, and the Party Archive, which is also the part of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, that we are moved to the suburbs, the outskirts of Tbilisi, but it is easily accessible by the different public transportation. It is also mandatory to fill in the form and submit it to the Ministry of Internal Archives of Georgia. There are also different remote services available in the archives, both at the National Archive, at the Communist Party archives, and it is the National Archive provides researchers with online finding aids. Scan documents, find documents are available both in these 2 archives. I also would like to speak about the IDFI's role in opening the state archives. We have been working, as I have mentioned, for many years in having access to archival documents. Unfortunately, the price for a copy of 1 page is almost $1, and in 2019 we have initiated the amendments in the legislation. We have submitted the legislative proposal. It was discussed by the parliament, but rejected, despite that we are offering easing the access to archival documents, as well as the amendments in the personal data protection legislation. Unfortunately, we are not successful in this advocacy. IDFI also has the Transparent Archives page, which is the different collection of documents gathered in one place. There are exhibition files that IDFI has presented, different articles and research pieces. Memory studies is also the part of this page. And an important project that IDFI has been working on is the so-called Stalin's List project. It's a bilingual Georgian and Russian database of information about 3,600 persons who were repressed by Stalin's direct order in Georgia in 1937-38. We have worked on the archival documents based in the KGB archives. These are the personal files, protocols of Troika sessions, and we gathered enormous information and filled in this database. We have also visited families of victims, collected photo and different documents from the families, and all this is these documents and information is gathered in the database of the so-called Stalin's List. We have also actively cooperated with the International Memorial on this topic, and we have presented the outcomes as an exhibition in various parts of Georgia. An important project that IDFI is currently working on is the Open Archives Initiative and Project. This is IDFI's one of the international project. It started in 2017 with the support of the Open Society Institute Foundation, and currently we work in 18 Soviet and Eastern European countries, and 2 archives were evaluated in this country. So totally it is 36 archives that we have evaluated in the frames of the openness and access to archival documents. The methodology, which is a very important part of this project, is composed of 86 indicators, and each of them is granted different weight and index of social importance. The legislative framework is the general archive legislation, which we are assessing as a benchmark indicator. Other legislation referring to freedom of information and archives and archival services. The second is the website, whether the archive website and online services exist. The reading room, we are assessing whether the services and procedures for the researchers are easy to be implemented there. And this methodology was created with the involvement of various researchers, experts, and it was discussed at 2 international conferences that IDFI has organized during in these years. So to speak about the Georgia's ranking, Georgia holds the 8th place among 18 countries, and in total it scored as 70.99%. The results of evaluation, it's also important to mention that results are published on the website called the the results are represented in 2 ways. So results by separate state archives and overall results of countries. Based on the results of evaluation received from international partners, the ranking of openness of the archives is updated on the website called the openarchives.org, and IDFI publishes a report with the summary of all evaluations and assessments, and give the best and worst international practices and recommendations for the state archives for enhancing the accessibility of archival materials. The results and findings of the study are also sent to the relevant state institutions, and we are advocating together with our international partners to improve the access to archival documents, the working conditions in the reading rooms, etc. So this is work that we are currently conducting internationally. This is what I wanted to speak about the archives in Georgia, the Soviet study, the role of IDFI in these regards, and I hope that this presentation will be useful for your work in future. Thank you very much.